Mr. President, we must make it clear to the Iraqi government that they are responsible for the security of the Iraqi people. You must put forth a plan that indicates that to them, that also brings stability to the region and begins serious, responsible redeployment of our troops.
The worst thing to do would be to begin to withdraw our troops.
It's a real mistake for him to increase the number of troops. It's more targets, it's more people without a mission.
Whatever option is left, losing has to be taken off the table.
He surges another 20, 30, or whatever number he's going to into Baghdad. It'll be a tragic mistake in my view, but as a practical matter, there's no way to say, Mr. President, stop.
There are two keys to any surge of U.S. troops. To be of value, the surge must be substantial and it must be sustained.
We must change course in Iraq and begin to withdraw our troops, not escalate their presence. The way to start is by acting on the president's new plan.
All right, there you have some shots of the ongoing debate. Here to discuss the president's plans for Iraq and General Haig's views are Ken Edelman. He's Assistant Defense Secretary Don Rumsfeld from 1975 to 77. He's former UN ambassador and former arms control director under President Reagan. And we have Joe Cirincione, Senior VP for National Security at the Center for American Progress. Ken Edelman, does this sound familiar? 535 Secretaries of State and Secretaries of Defense. You think the Democrats would actually defund a troop increase for the war?
I don't think they would, but Larry, they do have a constitutional role in all this, so we can't just dismiss it as a bunch of 535 Secretaries of Defense or Secretaries of State. They have a constitutional role. I think their advice is generally, should be sought. We should try to work with the Congress. And at the end of the day, I don't think the Democrats in the Congress are going to pull the plug on the troops over there. Remember, a majority of House Democrats voted to authorize the president to go into Iraq using force, and I think it was 3/4 of the Democrats in the United States Senate authorized that. So I think in good conscience they have to think that they helped the president get into this, they should help the president get out of it.
Yeah, well, of course, many of them are running for cover and disavowing those votes you cited. But Joe Cirincione, let me come to you on this. Last we talked, you oppose a troop increase. Would you recommend to these Democrats, Ms. Pelosi, Mr. Murtha, Mr. Kennedy, and so forth, that they should oppose the troop surge and defund it?
I would recommend that they oppose the troop surge. And Ken, I'm only going to say this once. You're absolutely right about the constitutional role of the United States Congress. Congress has the right to declare war. Congress has the responsibility to raise and support the Army and Navy. And Congress has the responsibility to call forth the militia. The president has to go to Congress for authority to do these things. And it is now Congress's role to stop this president from compounding his mistake. The president's escalation is not a strategy for victory. It is a strategy for delay. He has already lost the war in Iraq, and now he wants to delay accepting responsibility for that loss. He wants to kick it into the next administration so he can say, like General Haig just said, that he didn't lose the war. It was the other guy. Nonsense. This troop escalation is unnecessary. It will not work, and it is immoral. We've got to stop this insanity.
Well, Ken Edelman, I read carefully the memos written by General Keane and Fred Kagan of the American Enterprise Institute. Victory is still an option in Iraq. These were the gentlemen that helped come up with this new troop increase idea, and the idea is to hold, just not leave to Iraq troops or to Iraqi police. Now, Ken, what is your view? Is victory still possible? Is this plan going to work?
Joe may be right. It may all be lost. And victory certainly has been lowered as a standard of this. My view is that it is worth one more attempt. And if that attempt does not work, then we should absolutely get out. I'm not sure that the chances are high. I think the mistakes that have been made over the last 3 and 4 years by the administration, by the Iraqi government, have been quite appalling on both sides, but I do think it's worth one more chance. And in order to do that, we have to jolt the system, and I think the president was good in jolting the system by replacing the 2 generals that were there. with two new generals who have a better idea of the strategy. And I think we should jolt the system in Baghdad, where the crux of the battle is, by adding another 15, 20, or even 25,000 troops.
So you basically favor the action.
I favor it as the last resort and the last chance to get it right.
And this is the last resort, is it not?
Yes, it is the last resort, and I would say to somebody as responsible and nice as Joe that give it one more chance, because, Joe, you know, as we know, that the odds or the repercussions of losing are simply horrendous.
Well,
it's
Joe,
worth more chance.
Let me ask you, you apparently don't want to give it one more chance, so let me switch gears. All right, I've heard this, and I respect your view, of course. Yeah. But there's so many people talking about a disaster, catastrophe scenario if the United States leaves. I mean, not just the fact that Iran would exercise tremendous influence in Iraq and help spark a Shia-Sunni confrontation, but also the Sunni states, you know, like Egypt, like Jordan, like Saudi Arabia. I mean, you would leave that region vastly more explosive than we found it. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Isn't that an American responsibility?
It is an American responsibility, and we have to fix the mistake that we made by going into Iraq. I just listened to Senator Lieberman, the clip you showed. He got it exactly wrong. It was going into Iraq that created the Al-Qaeda base in Iraq.
But that's history, Joe.
Right,
what do you do now? You know, it's like you got to play the hand that's dealt you.
You have to have a diplomatic surge, not a military surge.
It's ludicrous. Who's going to talk to us while we're negotiating from weakness? That's the part I don't get. Who's going to talk to us right now? I mean, if we take Baghdad back, if we stabilize it, secure it, if we protect the democratically elected government, Joe, then I would say, okay, let's talk to Iran.
What makes you think 20,000 troops are going to pull off that miracle that 130, 140,000 troops
because General David Petraeus says so.
Years?
Because General Petraeus says so, and he knows a lot more about this subject, doesn't he?
He is an excellent general, and I respect his work, and I respect the role that he did, and I respect him going back to Iraq to try to rescue this mission. But we've lost 3,000 troops already, 15 to 20,000 wounded and maimed. The idea that a blip, this is not a jolt to the system. There was a time when we should have jolted the system. That time is past. This is a little tickle, a symbolic effort, as I say, more political than military. It's only by pulling our troops out that you're going to give a jolt to that system, that you're going to get their attention.
I got to disagree respectfully, but I know your point of view. Ken Edelman, take us out, please. I just want a quick take. 2 battleship groups in the Persian Gulf.
Let me comment for a minute, Larry, if I can, on what Joe just said.
Go ahead.
I just think it's unrealistic, Joe, to think that we can win on the negotiating table what we're losing on the battlefield. I think so. A diplomatic surge at this point, talking to the worst countries in the Middle East, Syria and Iran, and think they're going to help us. I think, you know, this is the era of realism in foreign policy that we all welcome, and I think that's the most unrealistic approach. Number 2, it's just not right, Joe, to say that this isn't a jolt to the system. In fact, in Baghdad, this will be more than a doubling of American troops there, and a new strategy. Yeah. So I think it's worth giving it a chance.
You know, that's important, for heaven's sakes. We got roughly 15,000 troops in Baghdad. As I understand it, we're going to put at least another 15,000 in.
At least,
that gives you 30,000 troops. You're not dealing with every neighborhood. You're dealing with the west side of Baghdad, where the principal problems are.
We just did that in August.
This is more manageable, Ken Edelman, than a lot of critics make it out to be.
It is a long shot at this time. Unfortunately, Joe is right on that, but it's a worth it shot at this time.
All right, Joe, I love long shots. You know that. I tend to see things as the glass is half full. This is a tough one, but I don't know where the heck we go if we don't do this. Anyway, Ken Edelman, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming on. Joe Cirincione, as always, thanks for coming on. Up next on Kudlow & Company, the Capitol Hill rumor mill has been buzzing with speculation that Secretary Paulson is trying to strike a deal with Democrats to hike taxes on Social Security. But let the rumors stop right here. I have good news, straight from the Department of Treasury. Our Washington to Wall Street All-Stars, Dan Gross.